G'day guys, Tours20 here, welcome back to Mile Bay. We're going to start today's episode off with a time lapse as I wanted to start placing down some of these hotels and resorts that are going to sit right on the beachfront of our little city that we've just started working on. We're naming this place Cape Lewis, which was a name suggestion from last week's episode. The name Lewis is in recognition of Louis Armstrong, which is a musician out of Louisiana, which is pretty much where we're taking most of our inspiration from. So I think it's a great fit. Thank you all so much for your name suggestions. So today's episode is all about tourism. I wanted to really build up the tourism within the city and just make it full of hotels and resorts and even turn this place into a touristic district. I think we'll also really sell that. Maybe even make some money from tourism. I don't know if that's even possible within the game. I haven't really tried. But before I even start talking about what we're building, I wanted to let you know two things. Got two announcements. You might have noticed that the frequency of videos has been pretty good as of late. I am on 2 episodes a week. So, I've got 2 series running at the moment, and each week you are getting both series. That is pretty much like the golden amount of videos for my channel. Like, that is exactly where I want to be at. And you know what? That's going to be for all of 2022, because as of 2022, I am only working 3 days a week at my primary job, and the other 2 days are going to be dedicated to the channel. A big chunk of the reason why I'm able to do that is because you guys just keep coming back and watching and supporting the channel on Patreon, so I do want to say massive thanks to you all for that. Hopefully 2022 isn't the year that my channel all of a sudden just crashes and burns and have to go back to work. If you're interested in supporting the channel for 2022, a link to my Patreon page is in the description below. You can be a patron for a month or a couple of months, and I've even added an option to be an annual supporter at a discounted price. And then the second announcement is for all you Marble Mountain fans that are just like, hey, Tiddles, you've abandoned that series. How dare you? You said you're going to come back to it, and you haven't. Well, it's true. I have taken a big break from it. It's almost 6 months. And it was meant to come back in December. It was actually meant to come back in October, but because my computer broke and work just got super hectic at the end of last year, just couldn't get to it. But I am currently working on some episodes for Marble Mountain. I am in the save game at the moment, doing some work on it, and I'm just trying to figure out the best place to start releasing episodes, because basically if I start releasing Marble Mountain episodes next week, then either Mile Bay or Oceania will have to be replaced. However, I'm just in too much of a good rhythm with those 2 series. I don't really want to start, neglecting some of those ones. So I'm just trying to get a bit of a backlog of some Marble Mountain episodes, and then we'll just slot it in somewhere. Maybe we'll even have, 3 videos a week. I'll just see how we go. There's no promises to 3 videos a week. I'm just going to see how we go. But I just want to let you know that I am working on it. And yeah, expect some Marble Mountain in the very near future. In terms of what we're up to in Mile Bay, we've already gotten kick-started on some of the build, and we're building some pretty fun stuff. This was a very big request from you guys. You wanted to see some resorts and some hotels that sat on this beachfront, and you really wanted this whole city to be a touristic city. So the identity of the city is very much based on tourism. It is, full of resorts. It's full of hotels, campsites, and caravan parks. This place is very much dedicated to tourism. It's on a beautiful beach, and it is just, pretty much its identity is tourism. We are, of course, this whole series is mostly based on Louisiana, and a lot of people were like, maybe have a look at Florida and get some inspiration for there. And I said, we're just gonna put a pin on Florida. We'll get back to Florida for something else. But for this place, I'm taking inspiration from this whole chain of beaches along here. We have Panama City Beach and Laguna Beach and Santa Rosa Island. There's like a whole bunch. And all along the beachside are these big resorts that are really just occupying huge chunks of land dedicated to tourism. And, I kind of want to do something similar. So we've got these parking lots that sit right on the roadside. And then where the beach is, they've pretty much got full access to the beach. You've got the pools and tennis courts and just beautiful views. So I kind of want to do something similar. We are using vanilla assets mostly vanilla assets. So I'm trying to make do with what I've got. You know, I've always enjoyed this part of City Skylines as much as I love just, you know, scouring the Steam workshop and trying to find the coolest assets and the ones that fit the best. Assets that fit the best. I also like to just try and make what we've been given work. And I think that's what this series is all about. Seeing what we got, trying to make it work. If it absolutely does not work, then download something from the workshop. That's sort of how we're operating. And you know what? A lot of these vanilla buildings work pretty well for resorts. This is also going to help because we need residents like constantly. I know I go on about it all the time, but I just think that this game is very much dedicated to just expanding the population constantly. You know, I don't think I'd ever see the demand at just a happy medium. You know, going like, oh, you know what? You've got enough people, you've got enough shops, you've got enough industry. Let's just leave it at that. I don't think this game ever does that. I think it's either you need residential, you need commercial, or you need industry. Now, the reason why I'm obsessed about residential at the moment is because I'm at the stage where I really would like to hit the next milestone. The next milestone are cargo hubs, and you know, I've got this whole idea with barges and industry that I want to expand into. The other city, like the main city of Mile Bay, is St. Marie, and I'm at a point where I need to expand some of the industry, and I can't expand any industry if I don't have enough workers. So the residential demand is something of a real challenge and something that I desperately need. So building some resorts is a great excuse to place down some more high density residential zoning, because, you know, just placing down these houses doesn't really meet those demands. I mean, it's pretty much 2, 3, 4 people living in these houses, and that really just does not do much. Whereas placing down some of the bigger buildings, that definitely helps. This also helps though, just building a pretend, a little bit of a mock, I guess, caravan park, or I don't know. It's very it's very much use your imagination. I'm using these eco houses. I'm trying to find some of the smaller ones, and I think that they sort of work for a bit of a caravan park. So I'm imagining these are cabins. You know, maybe we probably need some campsites as well, but I just think the structure of this thing does look like a bit like a caravan park, doesn't it? Or at least some cabins, something like that. This is definitely one of those things where it kind of works, so we're just going to stick with it, and we're just going to stick with it, and I think it's alright. Taking inspiration from a couple of places just in the same area that I was talking about. You know, lots of cabins, lots of caravans, lots of campsites. I also wanted to develop up the beachside as well, and just finding any excuse to place down more houses. So decided to put some stilt houses there, and they kind of work. They kind of more, I don't know, they'd be better if I could choose some houses that were a bit more fancy, whereas these guys are not as fancy. But I'm sort of happy with doing something a bit different. Of course, you know, these are some very picturesque and very nice areas, you know, right on the beach. You're literally right on the beach, these guys. But I think this whole neighborhood is definitely under a bit of change, because I think that some of the investors would be like, okay, this is a great spot for some more hotels or a resort, and they're probably just waiting for some of these places to accept the offer and to build up some of these blocks. Again, looking at the same area, there are a lot of places that are vacant, and there's just a couple of houses sort of in limbo, whether or not they're going to sell, whether or not they're going to keep their lot. It's a bit of a mixed bag of places, and probably a lot of resorts are popping up and then losing business and becoming abandoned, and they're sort of left there until the next buyer comes in and builds the next resort. It's very interesting. I've always enjoyed these places, and the idea was to try and build something similar, but just very, very quickly. You know, Mile Bay is definitely, we're not detailing, we're not spending hours on this whole thing. You know, if this was Oceania, this would just be the one episode. There wouldn't be any live play at the end. There wouldn't be anything extra. It'd just be this build, because I'd be putting in a lot more detail and a lot more effort. Whereas for Mile Bay, we're just trying to smash it out. And, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think this one is a good example of it kind of works. There's definitely parts where I go, oh, I really want to just get in there and, I don't know, detail that lot, or try and make some of those spots just look a little bit more abandoned than they really are. And you know, I'm not saying that these areas are abandoned, but they're definitely in transition. And I think you notice it more looking at Google Earth. It's the sort of place where you'd probably drive through and wouldn't really notice any of that. You know, you might notice a couple of vacant lots, but you'd probably be more looking at the, you know, big resorts that are looking very fancy and looking really nice to stay at. Or you're looking at some of the beachside neighborhoods or some of the holiday parks or whatever. There's also just a strip of commercial just on the main road, and the whole neighborhood around here I've really kept quite open just to show that some of these areas are probably going to be resorts very soon. In fact, this thing that I'm building right now is an old resort. It was once a big building, and now it's just a pile of rubble and just a bit of a concrete slab. And I'm also using these retaining walls to just show where some of the building walls used to live. Being taken over by nature, of course, because that's what nature does very well. Just reclaims what we don't use anymore. But you know what? That was a very quick time lapse, especially when I talk about announcements and all that. Let's jump into a live play and just add a couple of extra stuff and see if we can even make a profit. I doubt we will though. So on surface level, Cape Lewis is looking just a little bit more complete, which is very nice, and it's all looking like it's functioning pretty well. Until you get a bit closer and you realize that not everything is just working out. I mean, look at these guys. They are just having the worst time ever, which we cannot have. Not only does it look bad for Cape Lewis, definitely for its tourism, which at the moment there isn't really any, but we don't have any residents in these buildings. So I actually know exactly how to fix them. This one might be a little bit more complicated, but I know how to fix these guys pretty easily. So they're complaining because I have ruined their connection to the road. So I know there's a road right there, but in terms of City Skylines, these are no longer connected. So a way that I can fix that, it's pretty simple, but I've got to be a little bit strategic because I don't really want to ruin how this place looks. What I need to do is I actually need to put a road here. Now, luckily I do have this tiny narrow alley, so I can potentially, I don't know, if I drag one along here, will it be that obvious? Okay, that's not too bad. And, you know, I don't really need to do much more than that besides just connect it up to the road. So I might just have to, I mean, I really don't want to. But I might, ooh, could I just do that? I don't want to do that either. Maybe I could just drag a road there. That's not too, is that too bad? It's kind of annoying. I mean, I don't like it. How about if I cover this up with some trees? Does that, maybe that'll make it so that you can't really notice it. What road? There's no road there. It's just a little place for trees, all right? There's no road there. So I'm hoping now that we should see this fixed. And if that's fixed, then I'll do the same for this guy. And this problem over here is something entirely different. So let's hopefully see the problem fixed for these guys. And here comes a garbage truck and problem fix. Oh, okay. Well, obviously there was quite a lot of rubbish in that building. So that's good. That's fixed. So I'm going to do the same with this one here. And you know what? I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to drag this road back here. And I might be able to cover this up, just being a bit strategic. In fact, for this building, I'm going to have to use some tiles because that road is a bit too noticeable. And I kind of like what's going on down here. So I don't really want to cover it up with any trees. And I'm just going to do the same back here. And we're going to call it a day. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I think that'll fix that problem. Now, I believe all the rest are okay. These guys, I know they're complaining, but we do have residents, so there is no problem there. So that problem is now fixed. The next problem is these guys. Now, these are a level 4, and they are complaining about the tax. I know I should probably lower the tax. I should just probably lower the tax. All right, I'm going to lower it just a little bit, but I think that the land value out this way isn't too fantastic. And I do want a touristic area. You know, this whole beachfront is meant to be super touristic, and I do want there to potentially be making a bit of money from the tourism around here. So in order to do that, I think I can actually use this beach, not just think, I know I can use this beach to turn this into a whole park, and then we can hopefully increase the land value around here as well. I'm going to put it on pause, and I'm going to create a parkland, and I'm going to put a little bit of detail into the beach, and then hopefully we'll see just a bit of land value increased around here. It's amazing how much it affects the rest of... Yeah, look at that. It's amazing how much it affects the rest of the city. When you just add in a little bit of land value around the edges, then it sort of just spreads, which is really great because I think we needed that for sure. That's fantastic. And also, as buildings start to level up, that means that other buildings will be influenced by that as well. So let's hope that we do see a little bit more land value increase. But I am happy that it is increasing around these parts. Look at that. They're already happy, which is exactly what we needed. I don't know if you noticed, but I have mixed in quite a lot of different park life assets. You know, just because you have, just because I'm creating a city park doesn't mean I can't mix in any of the other ones, because some of them work really well. Even like something like this. These are, we see a lot of these in Australia. I don't know whether that's much of a thing overseas, but wherever there's a beach, there's usually quite a lot of lookouts. I'm wondering about this. At the moment, it's working, but it might start complaining and might not actually have access like what these ones were like. Now, unfortunately, we are absolutely bleeding money. We are currently in the minus. We are in the red. We are not doing well. But I'm hoping that with the increased land value, and with these buildings starting to level up just a little bit more, we should hopefully see just a bit of a profit. We've got a bit of a problem down here, but I think it's mostly due to our rubbish. Our rubbish is piling up in in some of these apartments, and I believe it has something to do with this road. So this road, I mean, look at the amount of stops on this road. It's pretty, it's a little bit unrealistic, and it's a little bit stupid because it means that we've got quite a lot of traffic getting banked up, and a lot of this traffic is heading towards St. Marie. So we're actually stopping a lot of the traffic flow towards our main city, which is definitely not good. So I do have a solution to this. So I have subscribed to this one, these big urban roads. I've used them in Marble Mountain before, and they're really great for one particular reason. I'm going to show you why. So I'm just going to start upgrading these roads, and at the moment you see no difference. So not a huge amount is going on. Now, the thing that I really would like to change is getting rid of these intersections. So what I can do is I can just use traffic president mod and go no traffic lights, and just like that, our medium is back, and it means that people aren't stopping and starting there. So I can do that with all these intersections, because really, people accessing these hotels, these resorts, they're more than happy to do a lap around the block to access it through this road here. Whereas you shouldn't really be able to make a left-hand turn just to get into a resort like this. You're not going to see a huge amount of traffic, so you don't really need something like that. Of course, I need to upgrade. Continue our upgrades like that. We'll do it all the way along. Just like that. But for an intersection like this, I do want some traffic lights. I will turn that back on. And for an intersection like this, it is still technically an intersection in terms of city skylines. You know, they still see it as an intersection. So what I need to do is I just need to make it so that people cannot turn left there. And that way we shouldn't see people just chucking a sneaky left-hand turn across the median. It just would be a little bit crazy. So I'm going to do that with all these intersections. And we should see a much better traffic flow going on this main road. So not only does it work better, function a lot better, but it also looks way better. I mean, one of my biggest complaints with this game is when you're playing with the base game, you do have quite, like, roads, as powerful and amazing as the roads look within the game, I also find that the roads can tend to look pretty unrealistic with the amount of crosswalks on every intersection and the amount of junctions you have. Like, look at that. The intersections on that road has drastically decreased and it just looks way, way better. We don't have a huge amount of money, but I think we've got enough to build a couple more resorts. I'm going to build a couple along here, but I don't think I'm going to extend it any further than around here because I think this might make a nice park. Again, increase that land value and the tourism coming over into our city. But I think a couple more resorts just along here, and that might just be the extent of the resorts and hotels we put within the city, because I think this is going to be the main drag. So I'm going to do a couple more, and we'll see how much that benefits our population. Oh man, this one is definitely use your imagination, because there is just a couple of things going on in here, like a Japanese garden to act as a pool, and I don't know, this tropical garden to act as something else. I don't know, maybe it's one of those lazy boy river rapid things. And I have also just put, I mean, they're just individual buildings, but they hold heaps. Something I need to do though is I need to just go through and make sure that they are all the same color. In fact, why don't I make it a different color? I was going to make it white, but maybe like a tacky pink color would be even better. Yep. Tacky pink is definitely much better. But I mean, this is probably some of my worst work yet. I am not like 100% finished, and I'm definitely not 100% proud, but it is what it is. A nice fast resorts just there. I've also extended out to the parkland, so this whole area is looking super nice. So I just need to make a bit of money, because the next thing I would like to do is I would like to start placing down some unique buildings around the actual downtown, because there's not, I mean, all the buildings are really small, which is fine, but it kind of doesn't really match what I want to go for around here. I think we need a couple of malls and a couple more sites that have just much larger footprints. Ladies and gentlemen, we are making an absolute killing. At one point, we're making 30 grand a week, and we are now sitting at $540,000, which is going to give us enough money to start playing with some unique buildings. I want to place down a couple of malls, and I've got some other things I want to place down. But I think we're making money because the land value down at Cape Lewis is really nice. So if I was just to have a look at that, yeah, so a lot of these parks around have been leveling up. Particularly the beachside park is now, I believe, a level 3. So it's not like massively high, but it's definitely making some progress, and I think we'll probably see it upgrade even more. But yeah, some of the other parks have been just doing really well, and I do want to place down a couple more unique buildings just to even boost some more of the land value. But basically, residents are leveling up. I really wanted this whole area to be at a pretty high level, These guys are already at level 5, so it is definitely a nice area, and they are paying way more tax than some of the other guys. But I do want to increase some of the land value further into the commercial area, and I think placing down some unique buildings is going to definitely do that. Plus, I think they're going to make this place just look a little bit more like a touristic area. A couple of things I'm thinking of. A driving range would fit a touristic city pretty well. Just thinking about where I'm going to put this thing. Maybe even... I feel like this is like a weird block of land. We could probably get rid of these guys. They're not exactly massively leveled up anyway. So, yeah, we're not exactly moving out a whole bunch of residents. So, I'm sure we can handle the drop in population, even if it's just a little bit. Plus, this road, not a huge deal if we get rid of it. It's not adding a huge amount. And maybe even, yeah, like that. So that way, when you are, shooting some balls, you can actually just look out to the ocean. Well, kind of. Not really. But, I think it's better than facing the other way. I've got to put a bit of work onto that so it doesn't look so ugly. All right, that's all I'm adding. Just a little bit. Now, I would really like to place a mall. So there are a couple of malls to choose from. Luckily, that driving range didn't blow too much of the money. I'm kind of thinking this, but it is a bit big. But I don't know, I think it also kind of works in an area like this. We've also got this, but I think that's better in maybe in St. Marie. I think that'll look better. Could go for a cinema. I don't know, maybe. What else we got? This is the mall I'm after. Okay, I'm going to place this one down. And I think right on the beachfront as well would work. It is a little bit noisy, so got to be a bit strategic with where I place it. This only intrudes... it's not really cutting too much into any of the residents over here. I think we can get away with it. And then... Okay, if I place it like that, and then I can use move it... And there we go. You know what? That's all I'm doing. We are keeping this simple as. These guys are going to hate it though. So I'm going to remove just them. I'll remove this guy and this guy. I'm going to try and keep that just because it is a nice tall building. And I think it's giving us plenty of residents. I don't exactly want to move them out. But this could use a bit of commercial. So I'm going to add a bit of commercial here. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the district to one of these. Yeah, I think I'll probably choose the tourism specialization. And the thing is, if I was to click on that district here, then all the buildings that have just been zoned and have grown by themselves, like this one, then that'll change to some of the buildings within that specialization, which is, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so I'll start turning to some of these. I don't really want that. I'm actually going to place down as per usual. I'm going to place them down by hand. But I do want to change the district to that as well. So I'm going to zone a district just here. And luckily all the buildings that I've placed down manually, they won't change if I was to click this. So yeah, there we go. So some of them are disappearing because they're the ones that have been just zoned. Waiting for a couple more of them just to disappear. They will disappear. They'll change. Is that tourism? Yeah, okay, cool. So they've disappeared. That's totally fine because I'm going to go through and I'm going to add in my own buildings using Find It. And that way I can just tailor the way that these areas look. If I was to choose that, that looks way better over there. And there we go. I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to do to this place at the moment. I mean, it is, of course, always a work in progress. And in the next episode, we're going to be working around here too, trying to boost that population even more. I'll talk about that in a sec. But yeah, I've just been placing down a couple of hotels. So we got a couple of them. I've tried splicing in a few other buildings into some of these just because I think it makes them a little bit bigger and just hand-picking the types of buildings that go down. But I mean, very much the theme of Mile Bay, we're just sort of, just building quickly and just seeing what we could do with vanilla assets and trying to make money, which we're doing, and trying to make it work, which I think we're also doing. What do you think? I mean, what else could we do? What else could we do to try and boost the tourism here? I know there's a couple of other things we could probably work on. For instance, we absolutely need to start working on the highways and the public transport to Cape Lewis, because at the moment it's just this one road and it is getting really busy, to the point where a lot of the vehicles have to disappear in order just to get to, well, just to make it work. You know, you can turn off that feature of the game by using Traffic President mod, but if I do that, then the game pretty much, well, the save pretty much breaks, because vehicles can't get to where they need to go because the traffic flow is just so bad. So I do want to work on that. That's definitely something we're going to work on. Probably in the next episode is a bit more public transport and just trying to boost the population even more. But of course, that is for the next one. Guys, thank you all so much for watching this one. It was a lot of fun to put together, and I think the city is starting to really work out. So yeah, let me know if you have any suggestions on things that we can improve, work on, do over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, let me know. Special thanks to the folks over on Patreon supporting the channel: Josh Wright, Ben, Charlie Zane, VLDC 1000, Franco Lucky, Ferg, Nick Serafleen, Demo Cooper, Christopher Wren, Y100921, Burns Vice Versa, and Rick012. Guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!